Genesis 26. Genesis 26 verse 1 Then came a time of great need in the land, like that which had been before in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, at Gerar. Genesis 26 verse 2 And the Lord came to him in a vision and said, Do not go down to Egypt. Keep in the land of which I will give you knowledge. Genesis 26 verse 3 Keep in this land, and I will be with you and give you my blessing. For to you and to your seed will I give all these lands, giving effect to the oath which I made to your father Abraham. Genesis 26 verse 4 I will make your seed like the stars of heaven in number, and will give them all these lands, and your seed will be a blessing to all the nations of the earth. Genesis 26 verse 5 Because Abraham gave ear to my voice and kept my words, my rules, my orders, and my laws. Genesis 26 verse 6 So Isaac went on living in Gerar. Genesis 26 verse 7 And when he was questioned by the men of the place about his wife, he said, She is my sister, fearing to say, She is my wife. For he said, The men of the place may put me to death on account of Rebekah, because she is very beautiful. Genesis 26 verse 8 And when he had been there for some time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looking through a window, saw Isaac playing with Rebekah his wife. Genesis 26 verse 9 And he said to Isaac, It is clear that she is your wife. Why then did you say, She is my sister? And Isaac said, For fear that I might be put to death because of her. Genesis 26 verse 10 Then Abimelech said, What have you done to us? One of the people might well have had connection with your wife, and the sin would have been ours. Genesis 26 verse 11 And Abimelech gave orders to his people that anyone touching Isaac or his wife was to be put to death. Genesis 26 verse 12 Now Isaac, planting seed in that land, got in the same year fruit 100 times as much, for the blessing of the Lord was on him. Genesis 26 verse 13 And his wealth became very great, increasing more and more. Genesis 26 verse 14 For he had great wealth of flocks and herds and great numbers of servants, so that the Philistines were full of envy. Genesis 26 verse 15 Now all the waterholes, which his father's servants had made in the days of Abraham, had been stopped up with earth by the Philistines. Genesis 26 verse 16 And Abimelech said to Isaac, Go away from us, for you are stronger than we are. Genesis 26 verse 17 So Isaac went away from there, and put up his tents in the valley of Gerar, making his living place there. Genesis 26 verse 18 And he made again the waterholes which had been made in the days of Abraham, his father, and which had been stopped up by the Philistines, and he gave them the names which his father had given them. Genesis 26 verse 19 Now Isaac's servants made holes in the valley, and came to a spring of flowing water. Genesis 26 verse 20 But the herdmen of Gerar had a fight with Isaac's herdmen, for they said, The spring is ours. So he gave the spring the name of Esek, because there was a fight about it. Genesis 26 verse 21 Then they made another waterhole, and there was a fight about that, so he gave it the name of Sitnah. Genesis 26 verse 22 Then he went away from there, and made another waterhole, about which there was no fighting. So he gave it the name of Rehoboth, for he said, Now the Lord has made room for us, and we will have fruit in this land. Genesis 26 verse 23 And from there he went on to Beersheba. Genesis 26 verse 24 That night the Lord came to him in a vision, and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Have no fear, for I am with you, blessing you, and your seed will be increased because of my servant Abraham. Genesis 26 verse 25 Then he made an altar there, and gave worship to the name of the Lord, and he put up his tents there, and there his servants made a waterhole. Genesis 26 verse 26 And Abimelech had come to him from Gerar, with Ahuzath his friend and Phicol, the captain of his army. Genesis 26 verse 27 And Isaac said to them, Why have you come to me, seeing that in your hate for me, you sent me away from you? Genesis 26 verse 28 And they said, We saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, Let there be an oath between us and you, and let us make an agreement with you. Genesis 26 verse 29 that you will do us no damage, even as we put no hand on you, and did you nothing but good, and sent you away in peace. And now the blessing of the Lord is on you. Genesis 26 verse 30 Then he made a feast for them, and they all had food and drink. Genesis 26 verse 31 And early in the morning they took an oath one to the other. Then Isaac sent them away, and they went on their way in peace. Genesis 26 verse 32 And that day Isaac's servants came to him and gave him word of the waterhole, which they had made, and said to him, We have come to water. Genesis 26 verse 33 And he gave it the name of Sheba. So the name of that town is Beersheba to this day. Genesis 26 verse 34 And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as his wives Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Genesis 26 verse 35 And Isaac and Rebekah had grief of mind because of them.